I'm melting. It got hot. Sun came up. Today on In the Wood Yard, we've got a delivery. It's time to chuck some wood. Here we go. It is a spectacular day here in the wood yard. It is August. For you guys, it might be September already because I have a lot of videos that I had shot because I'm going to be gone a lot. We got something to talk about today because I was in a big discussion with another firewood producer yesterday. We talked for probably an hour and a half about firewood and sales and how things are going. And I think we talked about some things that would be very interesting to a lot of you. I almost wish we would have done it as a podcast, but it was just a phone call and very interesting. We're talking about the price of firewood and sales this year, 2025. For the last 4 years or so, firewood sales for me and for a lot of other people I've talked to, people that have been in the business for a long time, the sales have not gone up. They've either kind of stayed the same or had kind of been a steady decrease. And I know the reason why, he knew the reason why, but some other people are asking us, how come it's happening? And if you've been around in the business for a while, you're seeing this, I think, because of several conditions that have happened over the last few years. And I've talked about this in the past, but I get asked this question a lot, so I thought it was something that would be good for you guys to hear. Now, if you're new to the industry, new to the business, your sales are probably going up. And that's because you're growing your business and you're gaining some market share. And that's one of the reasons why some of us guys who've been around a while are seeing it kind of go downhill. That's the number one reason that I'm going to bring up because it's kind of a new reason that I have never really talked about in the past. There's a crap ton of guys selling firewood. Everywhere you go, you see a firewood stand in front of the house. You see people hauling wood. Everybody's selling wood. There's a lot of people. When I used to run my ads, I do Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and it's not much of an ad, it's just like a posting. There were maybe another half a dozen people that had wood for sale. Now it's dozens, 50, 60, 70. The list it's like forever. And that's gonna affect the market to people that have been around a while because there's so many new people selling wood. And I know the reason why. There's 3 reasons why that I would bring up. Number one is that there is dead trees everywhere. When you drive around and look at woods along the edges of fields, I can see from here just looking out over that way and looking out over that way. It's the time of year when the trees are at their fullest, leaves are out and everything. But about half the trees in those 2 woods I'm looking at over there are dead. There's nothing on them. They're ash trees. There's dead ash trees everywhere here right now. Now, I know if you're from the East Coast, that happened 3 or 4 years ago. But now it's full force here. Trees have been dying here and there, but now they're just dead. And there are some properties I drive by occasionally now where I've noticed the ash trees were dying off. And because they're dying off, you kind of start to notice, there's another one there's no leaves, there's another one. Now what's happening is I'm seeing those stands, and a lot of times it's low-lying areas because white ash trees tend to grow in non-competitive type areas, low-lying, watery areas, things like that. Those trees aren't just leafless. The bark's off. You're starting to see lots more of them now that are tipped over and they're leaning against other trees. You see a lot of the horizontal trees as you're going by, which means they're rotting and breaking off and falling down. So that wood is not going to last a long time. Number one, because it's not oak, it's not cedar, it's not a wood that stays, rot-free for a very long time. Those are 2 kinds of wood. They're like that locusts. So they're dying and rotting and falling over. So they eventually will be gone. All of the yard trees that tree service guys are cutting right now around everywhere that I see are being cut down. Gradually they're getting through all of the dead stuff. And talking with some power shops, people that sell chainsaws, lawnmowers, things like that, they say there is a ton of people that are coming in and buying chainsaws to cut a tree down, and they've never cut one before. And there's a lot of people that have started becoming arborists, even though they have no training, no skills, no insurance. They're just buying the basic equipment. They got a truck and a chainsaw, and they're cutting trees down for people. And they have told me that they shouldn't be doing it because they don't know what they're doing, but they see a fast buck, so they're going after the fast buck. Pretty common thing to happen in a lot of industries. When things change, people tend to jump on it and go in it. I saw that with my photography business. As soon as digital came out, as soon as it was probably about a 5, 6, 7 year process when the phone cameras got really good, everybody became a photographer. When I first moved to this area to start my business, there was 5 or 6 full-time, really good photographers that were professionals that have been around forever, and I was one of them. As I grew my business, we pretty much did most of the work in the area. I did a big share of what was available. And then when digital came, everybody became a photographer, and now we call them moms with cameras because they're everywhere. And yeah, they do some work. Some of them do good work, but there's hundreds of them now. Hundreds just in my area. Everybody's a photographer. So it's one of the reasons why I'm getting away from that. Plus, I've been doing it forever. I've had enough. It's time for me to have more fun and play with wood. So when it comes to the trees, now they're everywhere. Everybody's got dead trees. I see people hauling them in little bitty trailers. They got overloaded. You see pickup trucks just heaping, and it's always all ash. I see piles of dead ash trees where people have them piled up in their yard. I saw a guy yesterday. It's kind of what made me think of this also, is that he was cutting down trees in his backyard. I went past his house for a walk, and later that day I drove past it. He had them all cut up and all piled up along the edge of the tree line between him and his neighbor, and he had all the rounds piled up, and there was some pretty nice sized rounds. All ash, had it all cut up, had the limbs all stacked up out by the road. So there's dead trees everywhere. About 2 months ago, I was at our local city waste disposal where they take yard waste, and the guy that works there, I've seen him lots of times because I've taken a lot of stuff there over the years, and I just saw just a mountain of branches and brush and stuff that normally it's not that big. Normally it's about half that size. I said, wow. I said, people have been really doing a lot of yard work. He said, yeah, the last few years, he said, it just keeps coming. He said there's so many dead ash trees everywhere that people are hauling all the branches, and they only take up to like 6 inches and smaller for their chipper. So nobody can bring in any actual trees in. They don't want tree service stuff there at all. So, but they're bringing a lot of branches, and a lot of people are cleaning up their own yard because they're saving some money doing that, or they're cutting up the firewood rounds and they're keeping it or giving it to someone or something like that. I see wood all the time on the side of the road with a sign that says free. And a lot of times it's cut this long, or it's cut this long, or it's just all different sizes, and there's not a lot of it. It might be a pickup truck load. Years ago, I would have grabbed it and thought, oh, it'd be good firewood for me, and I'll drive past it the next day and it's gone. But now that I buy truckloads of logs to run in the processor, I don't chase a lot of the tree service wood. I do still get some that comes from tree service. They just bring it and drop it off for me, and that's fine. My time now is a little more valuable because of all the things I got going on, that it's better for me to have wood that I can run through the processor or logs that are easier to handle, because I've talked about this in the past too. The really big firewood rounds, the big mamba jambas as we like to call them, the oversized stuff that's huge. Yeah, you get a lot of wood from it, but it's also a lot of work. You pay for it in the amount of time you have to spend on it to produce the wood. So it's very time consuming to deal with the big wood. And I know some of you, that's all you can get because you don't have a firewood, or you don't have a logging industry in your area. There's no lumber mills, there's no paper mills and things like that. We've got them everywhere here. We've got, from where I live in central Wisconsin to the north, heavily wooded, and there's a huge wood industry as far as paper mill supplying, pallet factories, lumber mills, bedding, mulching. It's a big industry here. Forestry is huge in my state and pretty much the Midwest in general. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then as you go to the north and east, Indiana, Ohio, you know, the northern edge of the United States, there's a lot of forestry all the way to the East Coast. You go to the south, not the far south, because in the far south they have a lot of tree farms too. They grow a lot of red pine or lodgepole pine or yellow pine for paper industries too. But then if you go to the southwest, not as much logging. Go to the northwest, there's a lot of logging. And then in the very southwest, all the way again to the deserty states, as we call them, not as much logging. So depending on where you live, that all matters. Now, back to the why firewood sales have gone down and prices have gone down. Because there's so much free wood out there, people are practically giving wood away. They're literally giving wood away because they just want it gone. But there's people that are trying to sell it, and I say they're almost giving it away because instead of selling it for what is considered an industry standard of somewhere between $100 and $120 for a third of a cord is kind of average in my area. Full cords, $300 to $400 right in there, depending on the kind of wood, quality of the wood, service, things like that. That's kind of where the price is. Low end is $300 for my area. $400 is getting kind of to the very top end. So $350-ish for a full cord. Now, if you go to the far north and east, Maine, that area, and then some of the states out east that have a lot of Amish population, and some of you that know this, you're gonna go, yeah, the Amish, whatever. But they work for almost nothing, and it's really hard to get $200 for a full cord. Some of the places out east, guys that I've talked to, it's just the way it is because the Amish, they have literally slave labor with their children, and they don't charge much for their products. If you're a consumer, that's great, but if you're competing with them, it's not so great because they don't have overhead. They produce a lot of stuff very cheaply, and it's a lot of forestry products is a big thing. So that affects it. But if you go to a big city where there's lots of people, Chicago, New York, Minneapolis, some of the bigger cities that I've been to and looked at pricing, firewood, a cheap full cord is $500. That's a cheap one. That's real cheap. I've heard of guys telling me they sell a full cord for $700-800 delivered. And there's one guy in particular that I was talking to, and he knows someone that delivers firewood. He buys in bulk, and he delivers to apartment buildings in Chicago with a cart. He used to use a shopping cart, now he's got some kind of a cart, but he delivers by elevator. And it's small amounts, so it's like a 1/9 of a cord at a time. So he's taking a face cord or a third of a cord and cutting it down so it's 4 feet high and 2 feet wide instead of being the 8 feet. And he's delivering that, and when he delivers it, and if he would extrapolate that out to a full cord, because he's delivering small amounts, but if it was a full cord, it would be $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, especially if he's delivering specialty wood for smoking meat like a hickory and a cherry and white oak, stuff like that. So he's getting top dollar, but he's where the people are. There's more people and a few trees, the price is higher. So back to the industry and what's happening. There's a lot of people selling wood. There's a lot of people giving it away. It's everywhere right now, so there's a glut of product. That is the number one thing. For the last 4 years, the economy was going down. Now it's starting to pick up again. Not going to get political, but that was a fact. Sales went down and down and down and down the last 4 years. This year, the economy's going up. So don't care what you think. If you're on the left or the right, don't want to fight about it. It's just a fact. It's just the way it is. Everybody I talked to says the same thing. That was what was happening. And what happens then, you have a compounding problem. When the economy goes down and people are losing jobs, not getting paid as much, they start looking for something to do to make money on the side. So firewood is a pretty easy thing to do. Another part of the problem is me. I've been blamed quite a few times, but guys tell me, and they're not joking when they say this. Yeah, I used to sell wood. Well, I still sell wood, but I used to sell twice as much. No, there's guys with stands everywhere. And I talk to them and they say, yeah, I see this guy on YouTube and these other guys selling firewood and I learned a lot. So now I'm selling wood. So I guess it's kind of my problem because there's so many people selling firewood now on the side. My brother Ken always says, yo, there's there's people selling wood everywhere. He says, it's your fault. You're teaching everybody how to do this. Well, yeah, sort of. That's part of it. So between the dead trees, the poor economy, and some guy teaching everybody how to do this, or there's several of us that have channels. And that's the next one I want to bring up, is that there's so many people with Firewood channels now. When I first started 5-6 years ago, there was maybe 10 people that had channels about Firewood, and now there's probably, I don't know, 100, 150, I don't even know. When I see someone new that pops up, I'll subscribe to them just to kind of check out their stuff. And I've got a list. I think I went through like a week or two ago, and I think I had 120 subscriptions, and it's only Firewood stuff. I know there's more that I'm not even subscribed to. So there's a lot of people that are starting YouTube channels because of Firewood, because it's kind of their passion, it's what they like to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get asked a lot of time from people, you know, is it lucrative? Is it good to do? Should I do it? Can you do? Is it worth it? And I give them the same answer all the time. Yes and no is the answer. It depends on you. Depends how much time you want to put into it. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of time you're going to put into it, a lot of effort, and if you don't take it seriously, you're not going to do very good. Now we're going to load some wood because we have a delivery to do, so it's wood chucking time. I'm melting. It got hot. Sun came up and it got hot fast. It's warming up. It's gonna be one of those scorchy days. There's no wind at all, so it's gonna be a hot, sticky day today. So when I was loading, I found a bunch of different kinds of wood, and a lot of you have been asking me, how do I know all these different kinds of wood? Well, I found a bunch of different ones in here, so I'm gonna kind of point them out. We're gonna give you a little wood lesson today. Now, the way I know what kind of wood is I'm always looking at every single piece, trying to figure out what it is. Now, sometimes when I process wood, I'll have a certain kind that I do all at once, so I obviously know what that is, and it goes in one area. But this mixed stuff here is a little bit of everything. Stuff that where it wasn't worth it for me to sort. You know, I had maybe 2 sticks of cherry, maybe 3 sticks of birch, maybe a couple sticks of hickory, a couple sticks of oak, and then 50 sticks of ash, 20 sticks of elm, 10, 15 sticks of maple, and it was all in one load, so it just all goes in together. So here's what I found. Here's a piece of yellow birch. Well, actually, this is river birch. It's not yellow or white. It's got this flaky stuff, so it's called river birch. It's more of a, I would say, from what I know, this is more of like a yard tree. Right here is a piece of apple wood. I can tell by the weight of it and the texture of it and the bark on it. This is from an apple tree, so apple wood. Here's a piece of young ash. You can tell by the inside. And no, it's ash. And I'm coming down here to see, like, this is ash, this is ash, this is ash, this is ash. A lot of this stuff. Here's one from a tree that's a little more mature. So look at how the bark can vary from that to that. So this is ash and this is ash. So quite a bit different, but yet it's still ash. And then if you find stuff like this where there's no bark at all, I can just tell by looking at it, it is ash. So there's a lot of ash in here. That's probably more than half of what's in here. Then we've got a piece of red oak. There was only a couple of those I saw. So there's a piece of red oak. And then this one right here is a piece of maple. It's some soft maple. And that's a bunch of that. There's a bunch of that in here. Here's a piece of elm. I can tell by the bark and the stringiness of it. There's some more elm in here. Right here's a piece of elm. You can see by the stringiness. I know that's elm. Here's another piece of ash. You can see here I left this one out because you can see the worm marks from where the emerald ash borer did its thing. So that's a piece of ash. More of the birch. Here's a piece of hickory. I can tell by looking at this. This is smooth bark hickory or bitter nut. And it's very heavy, very dense. Hard to tell by looking at the wood structure because it's almost like a maple. But I know this is hickory because I remember seeing a stick or two of that in there when I cut it. This is box elder. You can see by the pinkish lines. It's basically like a soft maple, member of the maple family. Some people call it trash tree, but for fireplaces, for just fire pits, box elder is very nice wood to burn actually. It doesn't have a lot of BTUs, but it's okay. Well, here's another piece of oak here. Here's another piece of apple wood right here. Let's just kind of walk around and see. There is more elm, ash, lots of ash in here. This is almost all ash up in here. That's the last stuff. Oh, here's a piece of cherry. There was a few pieces of cherry in there, so that's cherry. And another piece of oak. So a little bit of everything. Okay, now while I was chucking this wood in, I was thinking about what I was talking about the market of firewood, and I think the market is about to change. As we get through a lot of this free wood that guys are getting, there'll be a less of a supply of the dead yard trees, the ash trees that are all dying. Once that is gone, disposed of, burned, whatever, that will get rid of a lot of people that are doing this just because they have a couple trees and they thought, hey, let's make a couple $100. So a lot of those people will fall away. They won't stay with it. Another reason I think a lot of people will fall away from firewood is they will find out that it's not super profitable for the amount of work you put into it. It's got to be something that you kind of like to do. I love being outside. I love the hard work. I like the exercise. That's the number one reason they do this is exercise. And a lot of people are allergic to exercise, and people on the channel are constantly telling me, you should do this, you should do that. You got to work smarter, not harder. No, I want to do both. I want to work smarter and harder. The people that generally will tell you that you got to work smarter are usually the lazy people, and they're usually the people that just sit and don't do anything. They're generally the people that are overweight, that are unhealthy, that are looking for ways to make everything simpler. Simple sometimes is not good. Lack of exercise is what kills you, not too much exercise. So I get that quite a bit. Guys telling me, oh, you should do it this way. You'd save some labor. You're touching the wood too much. Well, I like the exercise. I'm weird that way. All right, let's go do a delivery.